are listening to Fly FM. It's Fly FM.
Kwame Addo yamagana de sima nyina aha ebraso se ensema hodo awie yensaka of Flight TV ene Fly FM na osemufo asem krojen ye kan nyina se kasebo emawo ene eye febo abosumne de toso miensa ewa fimpino ene adununum emu kasebo yi efri main studios Okanta School Junction okwa be Fontaine Tiny so a Flight TV GH kaseboy etwa egwade hyemo kaso a Millennium City enso eti kaseboy bi Glad FM GH kasafidie eso ensama hodo a awie obati bi ense Ghana Mampany His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ediato abebremu mpanyimfo nim se braso se kamimamen kabine eboa ma oman no etimi ekono anim ewon semfoforo mu no osoafo a ono nso ebehye nkitahudi ensem so ediato igasa enye no preda se sisia no adwumefo no oba obewo ebimu enkunza ewon semfoforo mu bro is mantem no soafo ediato igasa oba CCTV camera obehye na odibi abobo adwade bia sede beboa na ejaihye no nyina eto ebetwa jebeko kantamanto na dahihye na namsui enamso ama odumja adwumaku no ere ato etwa se sempanyimfo amfa niam agu akwamu a endi afibie bete se kantamanto eja atoma ehon so ehye we ene ensema hodo bi ene wie ere sommo se kasebo Fly TV ene Fly FM eso emaseda Macheden International School o seja padia odi jabo franda uwachi yanjim free nisem ngumosiane senti o franda bra na omechi Macheden kindergarten nursery primary and junior high school asem denise sukui ewa cheche for mabin ewa de cheni edition bambo honsem Macheden International School at tuni jepa e de bambo honsem agni naso 0592500593 0592500593 Macheden si dream believe and become Macheden natural mineral water say odisu abedwa so mesrewada ensu no ete kutu itonya emfaso gu butum asem den se ne denti okwa amanone a ensu ne bibiri na ewo hwankrofo etoni senti efre Macheden International Mineral Water enti kutu bia na onsunya emfaso gu butum 0538461144 0205225477 the general see ewe auto data bundle na the general enterprise asem den se no bon efo enti unya bitwa niam be kuhye pa enso edi amount general se frɛ no 0597239862 0597239862 Flight TV semen kancho se Owi Media School na open bi ay attachment that tomika beka se worry no more bra na ye won hye bebre wo kwa betimi aboa na odwumadi no enso akọ nanim asem de kra ne se ba bia beda de uni ho how currently frame panyimfo 0249249301 na onem panyimfo nd enkomo enyuma kwada roma ense kasebo no ye de ebesom okenkani eyeme nana Kwame Addo afi ensem no enchichimu eni Ghana Mampany His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ediato abibremu mpanyimfo nim se braso se omoso regional film den hihye egu akwam se de beboa na omamamu no betimi akonani na otwawiye ena dwumadie bi ekoso enkrambopuni mantem no mu na eti no se 2025 Africa Prosperity Dialogue ani nyina ekoso enkrambopuni mantem no emu na bra wakasa na ode to twase se Ghana ebetimi aye ena afa abibremu man kra ebetimi akonani na ndie mabru ewo oman mu betimi atremu no monkwa se niam ahodo ampanyimfo no edigu akwa beboa pa na asetremu yedie ene mpuntu aba no mo hye na omdi agu akwa mu omampanyi ekasa na ode to twase ebraso se empanyimfo ahodo ede niam agu akwa na sumdie mapa efa ntoma pa efra esanse untimi ntan oman yi mu na onkase bia pese oman no ekonanim nanso asumdie ena afi basabasa ekoso oman no emu ose ekobasa emwakra emwaman no entimi nkone ne santi na de tomonim se abromu nyina ahia ka bom se bakrom besrada se obibia ekwa onhwe na asumdie enkoso obabia ono nso ebu ne man
Prosperity cannot be achieved without good governance, transparency, and accountability. Investors and businesses thrive where there is stability, predictable policies, and the rule of law. Our youth are getting tired and frustrated at the lack of opportunity for realizing their dreams and aspirations. Our decision to embrace democratic governance was supposed to be accompanied by a dividend that will lead to improvement in the lives of our people and prosperity for all. Unfortunately, progress in this regard has been sluggish and largely intangible. If we are to maintain the faith and trust of our citizens in democratic and constitutional governance, we must accelerate our rates of economic growth, expand investment, and provide employment opportunities for our young people. As leaders, therefore, we must reaffirm our commitment to strengthening democratic institutions and ensuring free, fair, and transparent elections. We must fight corruption, which robs our nations of resources needed for development. And we must promote peace and security, as economic growth is impossible in times of conflict. It is therefore a call to action, this African Prosperity Dialogue, that Africa's time is now.
Any Ghana One, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and what you know, and order to a gas of a strata, a brass to say, and your mano, a dani or mochi, and canibi, and over surrounding the raw material who do. Everyone of mine, Aquanim, none of Master Salina, Aquamanone, na acquaintance in Bibrio, best strata. Since he said your moon share now raw material, no, one casa and never wapa, Mabruka, and your Juma ye, na Ecobasa, and the Mobra diachi, I dare say, na Obiaba say, oh, from Manumu is say a Juma any honor, a tobit me, a
beyond being exporters of raw material to become producers of finished goods, whether it is cocoa in Ghana, oil in Nigeria, copper in Zambia, or diamonds in Botswana. We must process and add value to our natural resources. By so doing, we will not only increase our share of global trade, but also create sustainable jobs for our people, especially our young people. We must indigenize ownership of our natural resources. There's capital and technology available to us today to increase our participation in the exploitation of our natural resources. Our governments must therefore work hand in hand with the private sector to drive industrialization through special economic zones that encourage manufacturing and innovation, access to finance for small and medium-sized enterprises, which are the backbone of our economies, investments in technical and vocational education to equip our youth with the skills needed for industries of the future. The fourth industrial revolution presents a golden opportunity for Africa to leapfrog traditional development models. We don't need to go back to inventing the wheel. Digital transformation can drive financial inclusion. It can improve public service delivery and create new opportunities for all our people. We must therefore expand internet access and digital infrastructure to bridge the digital divide. We must encourage fintech and e-commerce to facilitate trade and economic participation. We must invest in research and development to support our homegrown innovations. Technology indeed has the power to make Africa more competitive.
Na ne kra muno na awampani ere to dwa se ebra so pa se abibremu emman panyimfo ahodo ehye na ekoba se ebia na obi pese obedi dwuma ewo asase so a eto ahodo dada so mo hye na mo tete so na aboapa ama enyuma ahodo so atimi afa ntoma pafra o man kronkron Ghana emu.
Trade liberalization in itself is not enough. We must invest in infrastructure to facilitate trade, efficient road, rail networks, ports, and digital connectivity. We must strengthen African supply chains to ensure that our industries produce goods and services that meet both regional and global standards. We must harmonize our trade policies to eliminate non-tariff barriers and reduce the cost of doing businesses across borders. We must fast-track the full operationalization of the Pan-African payment and settlement system to facilitate the payment for goods and services across our continent. If we commit to these actions, we can unlock a $3.4 trillion market, creating jobs and prosperity for millions of Africans across this continent.
Any Ghana man, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and semi betu jano chieri ye abrana chumadia yatunede 2025 Africa Prosperity Dialogue. Ekoso ewon kranpoponi mantem no emu oswafo a mompani abonedi na fe yeroto na no ekoba sende ejinu tuma obaye oswafo behwe nkitahudie ho nsem so ewoni munyamfo Felix kwachi ofusu na otwi mu enokopie mu parliamentary appointment committee no ase na abroko pie mu etuna no eno de to dwa se enye no kreda se adwumefo enka no ye adwuma ase ya mo hye amane bonsense me minister of information no obebo mo na si etu o se sansem no prebiara enni na adwumefo a mo ye adwuma information ministry ni nyina ebekoso aye adwuma enti omanfo emmo sansem ni nyina ntumu sanse ekoba sende omampanyi ebo obidi na okwa na chese adwumefo da ni nyina omo nyina obiade ne adwumadi abai o se sansem no enye no credit na mmom no aban no ebekoso aye nhihye sanse aban no aye na adwen se onfa nipa bebre enye adwuma se de beboa na ekawe riba eda oman kronkron Ghana so no eto betimi ati na mo eno so nkyere se adwumefo a enka no mo wodada no obeyi omu nyina afro na mmom no adwumefo a oman kasa de omokwa sansa amanyosem ti no omo de anhwa no mo dwumadi no omo de beba awie
people who work within some are harboring fears that they may perhaps be sent home. I wish to use this opportunity to assure all of them and the people of Ghana that no such thing will happen. The staff of the agencies under the ministry, by and large, would be maintained. In terms of the civil servants, it is the political appointees within that framework that no longer are able to work within the system as we speak. But what will happen over time is that substantial cuts are going to be made with a view to achieving efficiency. For instance, if you go to the Information Service Department, which has the highest number of employees within the ministry, as I speak to you, there are over 200 or so district information officers who work within the District Assembly structure as spokespersons for the assemblies. In the various ministries are PROs who also speak for these ministries. There are agencies that also have some of these people deployed. What my understanding is, over time, there may not be additional recruitment as used to be the case. But those who are there now will remain until they reach retirement age. The purpose of that is to have a much smaller, much more efficient unit that handles government communication. Because President Mahama believes strongly that all of the work that the Ministry of Information used to do can be done by a smaller number of people. So if I were to sum up and give you a concrete answer, nobody is going to suffer any job losses.
Any Ura Felix Kwachi Ofosu na enwachi no na ode to dwacheche mu de kodia information ministry no aban no edefro no si ni nyina ebeboa pa na okabebriba da Ghana so no eto nso atwa.
There are also other agencies like the GNA, Ghana News Agency, which by virtue of its credibility and reliability in terms of news reportage is widely accepted as one of the most important news outlets that government has. The president has a vision at some point of merging that entity with the IS and rebranding it. I'm calling it, say, the Government Communication Office, for instance, so that they can deploy modern technology and they can be in tune with the times. In the past, if I wanted to issue a press statement, for instance, I needed to type it out, print it out, and roam the streets of Accra and elsewhere and hard copies of the statements over to the various stations. A time came when now you could do it by email, so you needed a tall list of email addresses, and at the click of a button, you send it. But now, one tweet or one post on Facebook reaches millions of people, and that is even much faster than the system we have. So what has become apparent, what has become clear, is that the approaches that have been adopted over the period are no longer fit for purpose. The ISD, for instance, used to have cinema vans. Now nobody will show up if you brought a cinema van to their community, even in rural communities. It means that things have to change, and we have to keep pace with the rate at which technology is revolutionizing information dissemination. So Mr. President has a vision of transforming the ISD and GNA, merging them into the Government Communication Office so that they will be able to deliver much better services.
Any Ura Felix Kwachi Ofosu or na bino abone din send to no na yajini tuma me so afa obehyen kitahudi ensem so o micron Ghana emu na obi a yabone din send de ono nso enko ebunu East Mantem no emu na onkoye oswafo honorable Francis Owusu Antwi na otwe wiye ono nso kopie mu appointment committee no ase na nenkase mu na ode to dwase so ba obehye na CCTV camera ahwe na ende dwa hodo ni nyina ode bi awbo mu sere beboa na kakra bi a obeti se ja actor market wi eto nyina atimi atwa eno achi no se oni post adwuma no ebeye adwuma abom eno achi kura dumja adwuma komje fire service omo nyina ebedi kasu bom na omo nyina aboa na bambo ho nsem atimi apeja ewo ne mantam no emu.
Chairman, I'm aware of the recent market fire at Tachiman. We know the extent fire can cause havoc Mr. Chairman, if given the nod, I will make sure all the market centers in the region are provided with CCTV cameras. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, I will also make sure that fire service will provide services together with police administration to make sure they provide security. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, I will make sure education is given to our people so that they will appreciate and understand the extent fire can cause danger to our prosperity. Thank you.
Na eno ana honorable Francis Owusu antwere to dwa say Osha Woman Development Bank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Professor Jane na Opokwajima ASN de omudi beba na yebo pa emma adwumadiemu atimi afa no ntoma prefer ne senti omode omobɔ mpa ye sɛ saa adwumade nyina betimi ahyase ne kɔbasa emma omo ne mantambo no omo nso ati ayeye.
To be a very big food basket, especially in the production of maize. In the bumper harvest time, you could buy a bag of maize that would, even if you want to put it, let's say that you divide it into the 50 kilograms bag, two being put as one. You realize that women at that time will be running around and doing business, but they don't have the resources. Will you consider supporting the women, whether the bank comes on time or not? I know the bank will come, inshallah. By the time we will have the bank, will you support the women to enable them purchase the maize or food stuff, store them, and be able to make better profit when it's in the lean season? That's my first question. I've known Atebu to be a very big food basket, especially in the production of maize. In the bumper harvest time, you could buy a bag of maize that would, even if you want to put it, let's say that you divide it into the 50 kilograms bag, two being put as one. You realize that women at that time will be running around and doing business, but they don't have the resources.
Any ayabro is mantam no swafwa omampani His Excellency John Dramani Mahama abonidi say yentutuna no ekobase ginituma omaye oswafo ewo hono de ensemi nyina etu dwabra obepiemu ewo appointment committee no ase yeto akase bono so na medo akojama not abato empeso so ni nyina ewo bono mantem no emu na amanfo nyina ebe kaya endi afibia ebeto aba I just said delegate no atu edwa se obesrada se empanyimfo ebetrase na fi omaksen akomachi na ebrabia ebeto aba delegate no nkomkoto aba no mohwe na omoyensa kiraye ewo mu na nkase mu na mo kire se
Be a purchase being a 7,000, being a 5,000, being a 4,000 manyabi, Timmy Quatrabano. See a beam, no be a yes, Cadia, we are being a flight of Quatrabano. I'm a inshallah, it media like Muhammad Bawnia about 2020.
politicians na binom ayɛ bɛyɛ doctors nurses na binom nso asa bɛyɛ akyerɛkyerɛfoɔ wei nti deɛ yɛnsua wɔ sukuu biara no yɛnkae sɛ daakye no na bɛda adi wɔ yɛabrabɔ mu ɛno nti yɛbɔ yɛ mbra sɛ nɔkorɛ kristofoɔ anammɔ bi a yɛtu no yɛnkae sɛ yɛakyerɛkyerɛ nyɛ mmɔfra pa ɛnɛ wiase wɔ nneɛma bebree ɔde ma yɛn wiase ɛwɔ mu no biribiara yɛbɛyɛ biara yɛnhwɛ nhunu sɛ ɛho te animuonyam hyɛ wɔ mu na ɛsom bo na ɛnyɛ biribi a ɛdeɛ nguase bɛbrɛ yɛn ɛde bi abrɛ yɛawofoɔ anaa yɛkuo anaa yɛ man ɛno nti biribi a ɛyɛ biara no yɛnyɛ de yɛhyɛ nyame animuonyam na ɛnhyɛ yɛawofoɔ nso animuonyam na yɛntumi mmɛyɛ mmɔfra papa
ano eno achi nana atayebo abrobe deputy director in charge of finance and administration Doma Central Education Directorate ono so eka sabi the futuo pa ma chechefo so besrada se amakoye mpanyimfo a omudi emofre nani mobesre se omomfa oboni ni die eni mofre nenam so amofre no so asua ebi from wo eno achi no obesre se nwumasua na de che no omomfa ni serious na boapa amomofra ndachi asomuye
Ajijafoɔ ne adwanhwɛfoɔ na yɛwɔ adwanhwɛfoɔ a n'ahemfoɔ ne yɛhwɛ ɔmo yɛnwura no ne nkora na menim sɛ yɛwɔ odwanhwɛfoɔ papa yi deɛ yɛ odwanhwɛfoɔ bɔne nso aba mu enti odwanhwɛfoɔ a ɔntotode ne ba yie
Primary and Junior High School, Kindergarten, McJaden International School, Primary and Junior High School, McJaden International School say, "O school basa efa dusia for or bohunsim agudi naso." You watch cheche for mapping ewa de che any edusia emu. McJaden International School actually quite or kwafu crew opposite Okanta School Junction. Open cheche mu any asembisebia 0592 500.
Owura Thomas Opon enso ene ye adwuma ewo nadmu adwumaku no akachi a onde bre ene Fly TV kase edin komono de to twa se ebraso se empanyimfo ahodo ewo empotemo eba mo nsira ba mu na ombeboa sere beboa na adehia omonso wo twifu praso ena fi twifu atimokwa enso benya baabi edi omuti ato yemfiri ho na fe yemfa yani enso enchire mudia na obekaya afibia kamia kwese kantamanto beti se ndi eja atomu na adehie eja pade omusika ne niema hodo a omudi dwane nyina atimi ahye nam so emakasamafo edema Ghana National Fire Service meche odumja adwumaku eyewura Desmond Esum aka na wakasa ede atompanyimfo nim so besrada se ebraso se mpanyimfo ede hyehyɛ amapa eku akom anya sadia afibia de betia ne se kantamanto no eja atimi atomu na owura Desmond ekasa na de to dwa se niema hodo bi wo ho ese mpanyimfo no ye nan se kamia kwa ese matwi wani se de sebe panyi atan obadwamu no obona asenye ono anse na ye ono a wo se braso se sare mani nyina mpanyimfo adi gu akwam eno achi